everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's show, we're going to be talking about a number of different things, including the free Disney Plus trial that has kicked off in the Netherlands. We'll also be going through some of the new movies and shows that have been revealed, including Godmothers. We've also got Safety, there's the On Pointe, there's a few other bits and pieces. We'll also be talking about cancellations of shows such as Muppets, Live Another Day. I always keep wanting to say Die Another Day, but that's an entirely different franchise. And also Four Dads and a few other bits and pieces. So that's all coming up in this week's episode. Quick bit of housekeeping before we go any further. If you haven't already done so, make sure you also check out last week's show I did with Casey from What's on Netflix, where we talked about sort of the streaming wars and stuff as a whole. But now we're back. I've had a fantastic week's vacation. So I kind of wanted to get into this thing of like what we've been watching, because let's kick off first off with you. What have you watched over the last 2 weeks Disney-wise?
Let's see. I watched both Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. Not in that order. I watched them in the proper order. Watched those on consecutive nights. And then I also watched the live-action Aladdin, which I hadn't seen. I didn't see it in theaters. I liked it well enough. I liked it better than Lion King anyway, which I mean, I still enjoyed. Obviously, you can go back a couple weeks to listen to our review of that. But it was a solid remake. I enjoyed it well enough. I still prefer the original, but I've seen it, and I don't think I'll see it again. I liked it. It was good. So
yeah, I'm kind of at this point with I haven't picked up Endgame yet. And I'm thinking of maybe picking up on the 4K version, but I don't want to pay the full price. I'm going to wait a little bit. And it's that kind of weird thing. You're like going, watch it at the cinema. And then it's like, well, do I actually need it on disc? Because it just sits there usually half the time in cellophane, never to be used ever again. And then once it's on Disney Plus, then I will just have it there. So I'm kind of in this zone of, I've seen the movie. It was on the airplane. I didn't watch it because I didn't really want to watch it on a dilly little screen again. It was like, no, this deserves something better than that. So that was the thing. I mean, I headed out to Mexico for a week's vacation. So I had a long flight because of the hurricane. We had to kind of go the long way around. So we had an extra like 2 hours on the flight. So I managed to catch up with The Predator, the new version from Fox, obviously, which is now a Disney movie. This one probably did count as a Disney movie because it was completely edited. There was a lot of frickin'. That was one of the things that I watched it and go, what did they say? I was like, because it's been so badly dubbed to be family friendly, and it was like there was no gore or anything, so it was the perfect Disney Plus edition of it. That was okay. Also caught up with Battle Elite or Alita Battle Angel. I've been something a movie I've been wanting to watch because again that was James Cameron, a Fox movie. Now is it going to come under Disney? And I watched that movie and I'm going, this will be perfect for Disney Plus once obviously it finishes its run on HBO. I thought that was a very family-friendly movie. It was a bit odd. I kind of got used to the graphics after a while, but it was that kind of thing of like, yeah, that was okay. I watched a few other movies that weren't Disney, including Shazam and Wrestling with the Family, which I really did enjoy that one. But the thing that was quite funny was in our hotel room, we had there was a big TV, and we actually had the Disney Channel. Now, while it was subtitled in Spanish, I think I probably watched more Disney movies this past week. I think we ended up watching Inside Out. There was Finding Dory, Nemo. We watched. I've watched so many Disney movies every week because in the evening it'd just be on and it was like, yeah, it's just easy television. So I've probably watched about at least a dozen classic Disney movies and Pixar movies over the past. The Good Dinosaur that was on. I ended up sitting all the way through that again. So it was kind of quite nice, really, just sort of chilling out and watching a lot of Disney movies. So this has been pretty cool.
Did you actually do any vacation things on your vacation, or did you just watch Disney movies?
Yeah, no. It was only because they were on at like 9 o'clock at night. So you just sort of sat back in the room, turned the television on. I was like, yeah, it's on. And so I was like messing about, kind of putting up a few stories on the website, and just like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It's because, yeah, I mean, I did a lot of time sitting around at the pool, a lot of time sitting around on the beach, coming up with lots of time just messing about and just kind of, as well, just coming up with ideas and stuff for what to do with the site and the podcast and all the rest of it over the coming months. So it's been pretty good. So I'm now nice and relaxed, ready, kind of, I think, for what is going to be like the onslaught really, because Disney Plus now we're under 2 months away, and it kind of leads into things that keep building up. I mean, they've been putting out these offers onto. First off, we had the D23 offer. Now it's gone out to Disney Visa Club members, and then another offer's gone out to Disney Movie Club. And I think you're going to start seeing this. No matter which newsletter you are signed up with Disney, you're going to start getting offers coming through, which looks to be pretty good. About a 2 to 3 year deal. I think it's $20 off if you take the 2-year deal, $40 off if you take the 3-year deal, and that seems to be rolling out to everybody through different subscribers in the US, which I think is definitely a good thing. If you're going to be locked in, maybe if you're not fully down on the 3-year deal, maybe take out the 2-year deal. But Disney do seem to be doing their thing to kind of try and get as many people as possible to sign up to Disney Plus long term at the minute with these deals.
Yeah, and it does seem like they're not too particularly concerned about how much money is made in those first couple of years with all the discounts they're giving at an already low price point. I mean, I know the Apple one came out even lower, but whatever.
Yeah, I was going to bring them up because there's a kind of weird thing with the Apple Plus, which they announced all their details earlier this week at a special conference. The effect really is it did hit the Disney and Netflix stocks. They dropped a little bit when they put out their announcement of their streaming platform, $4.99 a month, free if you buy a new Apple device for a year. I'm thinking pretty much, I think the only way you're going to get people to sign up is if they give it away with Apple products anyway. But the impact of that was literally just last night, a few hours before I went to bed. Bob Iger had to pretty much, he's resigned from the Apple board of directors. And the main reason is conflict of interest, because he can't be running Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus, because essentially that's a conflict. And up till now, he's been able to, them selling phones and music and stuff has got nothing to do with Disney. But now there was that direct correlation that you can't really have a competition sat on the board getting confidential results coming through about your competition, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to really go into the Bob Iger stuff. I think that is pretty well explained right there. I did want to finish my thought, though, which was Disney doesn't seem to care too much about their current making money off of Disney Plus for the first couple of years. Obviously, I don't expect that to remain. This is Disney we're talking about. They do want money. But what they want right now is the numbers. They want people. So they can go to their shareholders and they say, we've got X million subscribers, which looks good. Stock goes up. They make money. And then, of course, 2-3 years from now, when your subscription that you paid for is up, unless they really need another subscriber boost, the discounts might not be there anymore.
Yeah. See, there's also the other idea I did have of, I'm wondering if by doing this 2 to 3 year bundle, it's actually going to make this quarter look so much better for the Disney for the Disney International division, because suddenly they are going to have an influx of cash and capital that's really going to boost up that number. So there's going to be, because essentially, they're going to have a really good November with people signing up, and it's going to probably just continue to grow depending on which type of people subscribing in different countries coming in. But this initial quarter is going to look very strong with big purchases, because now you're looking at $160, $140 coming in all at once. It's going to be a big get that offset straight off the bat. And that's probably not bad. I was wondering if that's also, again, it keeps people locked in for a few years, that no one's going to, you can't escape from it. But the price is pretty low anyway. But I did wonder that quarter is going to look a lot better when they get all these big results of, hundreds of thousands, maybe. I'd probably say hundreds of thousands of people taking out this deal. It could be in the millions. I wouldn't imagine it just yet with the people that they're going after, but I think once it goes out to the general public, because I'm sure this offer will do, that did seem to be the main key thing going forward. Yeah,
and after this quarter, they won't need the spike quite as much. Obviously, like you said, they'll get it with the international launches. But this coming quarter, they don't really have any huge, other than Frozen 2, which is going to be huge. They don't have too many big movie and Star Wars. Okay, so they got 2.
No, I don't know what the core is, because I think it's August, September. I think it's August, September, October.
That's
So
true. So this
most
current
movies will
quarter,
need, yeah.
this the September to October, the July to end of September
I
quarter.
think it's August, September, October is this quarter for them. Because we had the investors call back in August, didn't we? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. They definitely have not got the big hit. Yeah, that's okay. Generally, I don't think it includes November when it's going to have that big spike. So there's going to be
No. Quarters are generally starting with January and every 3 months. So it should be
yeah.
July, August, September should be the quarter, and then October, November, December will be the final quarter, and that's when Frozen and Rise of Skywalker will come out.
Yeah, so that'll be a big bump.
This quarter that we're in right now, and it's almost coming to an end.
Yeah, it's only because tax years and stuff are all different and stuff. my business's quarter is different, but it's that kind of interesting thing. I think that could be a way to. And I also think it's just locking people in long term, getting people signed up so they know they've got subscribers there, and people are locked in. So that kind of lines in with the big story really, and this was something that really caught, I think, everyone off because it was a complete surprise. While it was a complete surprise, the fact of Disney Plus launching in the Netherlands for free till November the 12th, everyone over there can watch it, install it, and it's all running. As long as you sign up, you have to have a pay source that is in the Netherlands. So you need like a Dutch payphone or a Dutch credit card or Dutch PayPal to get in. I do know that because I've been trying, but it's the kind of thing of you had to. I think you had to pay like a penny or a cent to get into it, a euro cent to get into it, and then once the subscription kicks off on November, this kind of has led on to a number of things. First off, obviously, the Netherlands. I mean, we actually reported way back. I think it was back in March that this was actually going to be happening. That it was going to they're going to do the trial in the Netherlands. And that turned out to be right. The reason is primarily because you have a very small country. They have about 17 million people in the country, but it's very small, very dense, probably no bigger maybe than some of your larger it's way smaller than like New York City altogether. They've got very fast internet. They are also, the fact that they are pretty much giving this away for free means that they aren't going to get any impact of people going, oh, well, this is rubbish. Well, what are you paying for it? Nothing. Well, then it changes the outset of what you do. The massive collection of movies, all of it is legacy stuff. And there is some new movies on there. There's some things on there that Netflix would have in the US, like Mary Poppins Return and also The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. The US ain't going to be getting that one for maybe 18 months. So that was interesting to see them on there. I thought they might hold back on some newer stuff, but nope, they went full in. The interesting thing as well with the Netherlands, there doesn't look to be any Fox content on there at all. There's no Avatar, there's no Sound of Music, there's no Fox content. That could be because of existing contracts in the Netherlands. But it launched, it's on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, it's on Chromecast, it's on Apple TV, iOS devices, also on Android. No mention of Roku, no mention of Amazon, no mention of Nintendo Switch. So just get them out there. The website's up, it's launching, people are using it. There's a few technical issues here and there, which is what to be expected. And there's they are now getting live feedback. This is exactly why they are doing it. This is a 2-month trial to iron out all the problems. So the Americans and Canadians don't have this problem. I know there's a lot of people going, oh, why are they getting it first? It should be America. It's like, no, because this is a trial. This is what happens with every single app and video game. We've been talking about this for years of soft launches in different countries. So it's perfectly standard for apps to do this. But a big surprise, no one really expected it.
Yeah, it's actually gotten so standard that companies, including Disney, have started to learn how to make sure that people outside the countries they release the soft launches in don't get it. Because we used to talk about on the Diz Kingdom, would be like, oh, the Disney, what was it? I forget the name of it. The RPG gotcha game. It was like, oh, yeah, we played it for like a couple of days, but when it soft launched in Australia or wherever it was, and then it didn't come out in America for another couple months, but we'd already played it, so we knew. But now between this, a couple other soft launch titles, not just Disney, but across the board, where they're just like, no, you have to be in this area.
Yeah, it's really annoying because like right here on my phone, I've got the Disney Plus app, and I've got it on my Xbox, and it's like I fire it up, and all you get is you're in the wrong country, you're in the wrong region. A little Mickey Mouse logo with Pluto. I'm in the wrong region. If you log in, if I get access to VPN, it does at least bring me to the login screen. But it is, yes, we've tried, and there's a number of conversations going on. It's that kind of thing of like VPN and stuff. We go, it's like, yeah, it's like they literally have locked in code on the website which stops you from signing up. If you're not, they've worked out some magic to try and stop it. I think they are doing that on a reason because they don't want to overload the servers from outside. They are trying to do a test for a reason. I think this will all calm down when it's all launched, because one of the key things which I noticed last night was when you go on to, like, say I went on to the official UK site, so we still got this keep us updated, but there was an update. It's now got an already subscribed button at the top where you log in, and it takes you to the European login details to sign in. And I then used the VPN and went to some different countries, and France, Spain, Italy, etc., and they've all got the same logo. And then also a couple of the members of our Facebook group that are in the Netherlands have said that they've had emails coming through about if you've paid with PayPal, you have to re-sign in because access to Disney Plus when you're outside of the Netherlands, because this is part of the FAQ of the fact that your one subscription you can use in every country. If you're traveling from America to the UK, when it runs, as long as the service is running in the country, you can log in on your ID. You don't have to worry about setting up different ones. And they've obviously already set up the whole of the EU is under one login. Obviously, Brexit won't have an impact on us, but it could have a thing on this one. But the fact that at the minute you've got that login, and the whole of the EU is kind of getting its own little login zone. So I thought that was very interesting on one or two things. First off, obviously us Europeans, we had no launch date at all or no details. So I'm hoping we find out some information soon. But now we've actually, I mean, it's so confusing to go onto the UK website and have this already subscribed button in the corner. I was like, and you're not even giving us any information. We've not even had pricings of release date. That's going to cause a lot of confusion, but they've obviously have to do that, and they're getting ready. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we hear some European dates soon, because that is, if you've got that on your official website, you're going to need to address this at some point. You can't just, could you imagine on the US website there's an already subscribe button, and people are trying to log in and kind of, it's going to cause a lot of ache.
Yeah, I mean the US site just says keep me updated and ask you for your email. So, yeah, there's that. But I mean, also I suspect a lot of it will just be with your regular Disney account. So.
Yeah, I did try with my Disney account. I didn't. I was like, it's interesting as well because, like with Disney Life, they've removed the Facebook and the Google logins. They've turned it to just when I logged in on the browser the other day, it is just your Disney account. They've removed the other options, so that's interesting because that's the same thing with Disney Plus. You can only use your Disney account, so they're all kind of locking down into this. So again, there's lots of stuff going on. Back to they are all getting ready for it, but. The launch of the Netherlands stuff, did you have a look at to see what content was on there?
I mean, I browsed it very briefly. Once it became apparent that I wouldn't actually be able to watch it, which I wasn't actually expecting. I knew they were going to have guards in place for this one. Yeah, once I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch myself, I was like, let's just kind of browse the list. They don't have The Mandalorian, which is expected, obviously. Yeah. We wouldn't expect them to have The Mandalorian or any of the truly exclusive content like Lady of the Tramp.
No, that all kicks in on November the 12th when people actually have to start paying.
Exactly. I mean, as you would expect. Because if they put The Mandalorian up right now on the Netherlands account, people would find a way to get in there and get in for free, or even just like
straight out. It's illegal, yeah. It would have just been.
It'd be all over the place.
I think it was a good idea of them to do that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think it was definitely a good idea for them to kind of come out and say, like, there's no originals. All the original stuff isn't coming till the 12th, and you're just getting all the legacy. I think that's a very good, because a lot of people are feeding back with ideas of going, Netflix does the skip option and has this, and this doesn't. But the list of content on there was very good. There were some interesting things that came up. For example, like the Marvel side, like the Runaways, Captain Carter, and also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans, they were all listed. on there. A lot of Marvel movies, which the US isn't going to get because of Netflix. Things like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Infinity War, things like that. So the Marvel section on the Netherlands one looked a lot better. And the big reason was they threw a load of the 90s and 80s and the noughties animation on them, all the X-Men and the Spider-Man. And I'm like, and that's really caught everyone because there's so many. I mean, I grew up on those cartoons. And it's like, wow, they are really going. They've gone a deep dive into those old Marvel cartoons.
Yeah, and I grew up on them too, especially the X-Men and the Spider-Man Unlimited, or what would become Spider-Man Unlimited before it jumped the shark. But yeah, those cartoons were great. There was that time period in the 90s when we had the X-Men, we had the I'm going to go past Marvel titles here, but we had the X-Men, we had Spider-Man, we had the Tick, we had Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, and all this stuff. Even Fantastic Four and Iron Man had their own cartoons, maybe not quite as worth remembering, but they were there. It was, and it's just great to see those, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit here too. On top of those, we have the Disney Afternoon cartoons, which is fantastic to see, including DuckTales.
Yeah, do you know, it's really weird. That story about the Afternoon collections is the biggest story ever we've ever done on the website. It was like, oh no, it's like twice the size of the launch. I was like, wow, people really, really want those TV series. That was, I mean, literally the feedback and the reactions to that on like social media and Facebook and stuff for those shows being on it, because it was put up on the official Disney Plus page, and this is the thing now. I go in there and check on there. I've got one to do today. You know, they are now like drip feeding out classic stuff and saying what's coming on there, kind of in a weird way of kind of going, do you remember this movie? Well, yes, so it's confirmed. Someone did message me and go, well, it doesn't say it's confirmed. Like, well, if the official Disney Plus US site is showing you a movie, it's coming to the system. It's not just right. It's like
that would be pretty awful. Hey, do you remember that movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Yeah, that's not coming to Disney Plus. We just wanted to remind you it was there. No, of course, if they mention it, it's coming.
So
it might not be at launch. Well, not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We know that's at launch. But like some of the stuff they tease might not be, but you would expect it within a very, very tight time window of the launch.
Yeah, it's like, if it's on the main Disney account, it's different. But if it's on the main official Disney Plus one, it's like, they're announcing this and that. And I did think that was pretty cool. The Star Wars side, very strong as well. Pretty much got everything we expect except for droids and the Ewok movies and series. Everything that we expected. It's good to see also they've got all the Lego Star Wars stuff in there as well. Just looks good.
I've only seen the first couple episodes of the Freelancer Saga or the Freemaker Saga, whatever it's called. So I was definitely like, yes, I want to see the rest of those because they were genuinely funny.
I literally the other week turned on TV on Sunday morning, and I've seen the last 3 minutes of the last episode of like where it basically gets to like Return of the Jedi, and I'm like, hey. I was like, oh, that's the end of the season. So it was like, So it's good to see them on there. I think it's a good way of kind of bulking out that area. I think that's definitely a good thing. They definitely seem to have filled in the Marvel and the Star Wars side. National Geographic, I thought was a pretty good lineup. It's actually, for me, it's one of the most wanted areas of all this like legacy content, because it's legacy content I've not seen. There's a couple of movies like I think it was like Paris to Pittsburgh. I remember watching that a few months ago, and Free Solo. But pretty much everything else for me, I've never seen because it's locked behind Sky's pay. It's not on their streaming service over here, so I've not seen any of it. So I think, and as an adult, the National Geographic content is kind of one of the most appealing sections of the service for me. But that looked pretty good. And again, National Geographic have been very smart of not having any of their content licensed out to anybody. So they've had like full control. I think it's probably one of the main reasons it's in there is because they've got none of the issues that Fox stuff does.
I mean, it's why would they wait? Other than trying to trickle out some content so that there isn't a drought, might as well put up a lot of the legacy content right up front. Because if you're excited for some of these Nat Geo shows, or let's go back to Disney
Yeah,
Afternoon,
yeah,
Darkwing Duck, the original Darkwing Duck, or Rescue Rangers, you're still probably not going to watch it at launch because you're going to be watching the new stuff,
yeah,
Lady and the Tramp, Mandalorian, High School Musical, the series, whatever. But having it available right there at the beginning, it's another selling point, and people can go, oh yeah, I remember those shows. I want to share them with my kids, or, I
yeah.
want to, put them on as background music. Those old Disney Afternoon shows make great background noise shows,
Yeah.
things that you don't have to actively watch, but you can just listen to Chip
Well,
and Dale.
this is it, because this is the thing for me of having Disney Life for the past 3 years. I've already had access to a streaming service with, I would probably say 90, maybe 80 odd percent of what's on Disney Plus in the Netherlands is already on Disney Plus, already on Disney Life. So I've had access to Darkwing Duck and the DuckTales and all the rest of it for years. So it's that less thing for me. It didn't really mean as it's yeah, okay, I've already got that. So it didn't mean as much because I've had access to Chip and I've watched a few episodes already, but I was more interested in watching the new DuckTales when they put that on there. That's a general thing with me, is I like new stuff. I like to see stuff that I've seen that I've not watched before. I like the new content, and so it was kind of interesting to see what people are picking up and watching with. Because my thing is, I want the new stuff. I don't want to watch legacy stuff. It's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't want to restart the whole thing again. I want to finish off season 4, finish season 5. That's, to me, more important. I want to watch the new stuff, and I think that was definitely a good thing going forward. The amount of legacy stuff on Disney Plus, the Pixar section looks very complete. It was along the lines of, because they've got Coco and Incredibles 2 on there. I looked at that Pixar and I went through all the videos and kind of looked through all the things and go, yeah, they've pretty much got the entire Pixar. I couldn't see anything missing. It looked all there. I mean, that's a pretty complete version in the Netherlands right now. There doesn't look to be anything missing in the Netherlands.
Yeah, and you would expect that for Pixar. I guess there'll be a couple that'll stuck with Netflix for a while here in the States, but
yeah.
I just want to talk about the legacy bit for a second there. I think most people are in this for the new content. Mandalorian, Lady and the Tramp, all the various shows that we've talked about and will talk about in the future. I kind of fit in the middle. I like to kind of mix it up because sometimes it's just nice to have that nostalgia going in the background. It is nice to, you don't have to pay active attention to it. You can do something else while it's on. It's comfort food, But in addition to that, even if I never watch Rescue Rangers or Gargoyles or any of these shows that are going to be popping on there in the legacy section, X-Men from the 90s, it's still comforting to know they're there. In case they ever do want to watch them. Just having them available, even if I never watch them, is a selling point for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, again, legacy content kind of comes in two ways because, as I've said in the past, this past year I've gone through all 6 seasons of the Clone Wars. I've gone through all 4 seasons of Rebels. I've worked through, I think, most of the first season of DuckTales, the new version. Gravity Falls is my current thing that I'm working my way through on Disney Life. And that, there's a thing if I put it on and I'll kind of churn through it. And as you said, I was on holiday and we put on movies. I was still on my iPhone, but I kind of, still doing stuff, but I had it on in the background. And I do that. I'll just flick on a movie and put it on there. But, everyone's got, I know with kids and stuff, people are very much aware of the fact that they want to put the movies on and get going and just put them in front of the kids and just let them. And everyone's got different audiences and different things going on and different things are going to appeal. Some people are just going to purely watch legacy stuff and are not interested in the new stuff. Families and kids might just only watch the classics. There'll be kids that will only watch the Pixar stuff because maybe they don't want to watch the old, and this is the thing, they've got to balance out. I thought the actual initial Netherlands launch lineup looked very strong. Nice mix of live action, animated. I mean, there's a few people kind of going, there's not as much adult content as they were expecting. But I was looking at this list and going, 300 plus movies, loads of TV series. This was a deluxe version of Disney Life to me. And I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted. This is a Disney Life with all the stuff that I also want them to add. And that was the way I looked at it. I thought, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted from Disney Plus. There's more that I want them to do, and there's a lot of stuff that they need to go in and backfill.
And I mean, it's about, like you said, about appealing to as many people as possible. So, both of us are kind of in a situation where we're getting this for ourselves, Disney Plus subscriptions. But families are going to have a different perspective. And, you alluded to that with, the kids are going to want to watch this. The sister is going to watch this. The brother's going to watch that. The parents are going to want to watch that. The person we don't actually end up mentioning all that often, but is still part of the factor is, the grandparents. And there could definitely be situations where if you can get the grandparents on Disney Plus, or you're visiting your grandparents. I know if I visit my grandmother, she's already got a collection of Disney VHS. She hasn't upgraded to anything past VHSs of most of the classics. But if we loaded it up on our TV, Chromecast or whatever, we would probably end up watching something like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the original Mary Poppins, something like that. These older movies that modern audiences are probably just gonna like, no, I'm just gonna keep going. Oh, there we go, the new DuckTales, stuff like that.
She didn't like a lot of the modern television because for her, it was so, the boundaries have been pushed, and they never had that. They grew up they had television for 40, 50 years before, they've been watching television since, the 50s and the 60s, and the standards have changed. I mean, I'll be honest, you sit there with Netflix sometimes going, I wouldn't want to be watching this with my parents in the room, because it's like, and then they go, and you do sit there and go, you didn't need this in there. But I think a lot of the older television and some of the Disney stuff is a much more, general G, less pushing the boundaries. And there is an audience for that, of people wanting more, I wouldn't say wholesome, but the idea of having, so that doesn't push the boundaries as much.
Yeah, there's something kind of nice about those just kind of, I don't know, popcorn shows, quiet shows. They're not particularly deep, but that's okay. You don't need every show to be deep, and I can definitely see that. Or get, like, say, the Winnie the Pooh from what would it be, the 70s, where it's introduced by a person opening up the book and then beginning to tell it like it's a story. That kind of classic animation, the old school Walt Disney stuff. There's nothing wrong with those shows, and there's plenty of audience for that, and it's not even exclusive to the older generation. I think even in the younger generations, there are some times when you're just like, you know what? Well, I don't need all of the violence, the blood, the cursing, or the pseudo cursing on modern television. Just give me something.
Well, I think there's a big reason why things like Friends and The Office and like Big Bang Theory, of why people just keep them on churn, because they are easy. They're just easy television, and things like Steinfeld and things like that, of just like that. What people are looking at those TV shows. People that are a little bit older are going back to what they enjoyed similarly. There's a little bit of a lack of comedies. I think I'd like to see a little bit more of the ABC family-friendly stuff being on there, the sitcoms. I would like to see a little bit more of that, but they might push that and go, that's more the Hulu kind of content. But overall, I thought that lineup was better than I was expecting. I think for a free trial, I think that was an incredible amount of content. You got like Last Jedi and Mary Poppins Return and Ralph Breaks Into It, and they've been given this for 2 months for free. This is good. I mean, and also more importantly, it will iron out the kinks. They're going to get some real live feedback. They're going to start working out what to concentrate on, what people are requesting in terms of changing the app. There might be some things that they add, and quite often until you put it out to a live audience, they can test it as much as they like. It's not going to work. But also sometimes coming up with ideas that, maybe hundreds of people are requesting and going, oh, we hadn't thought of that, because sometimes when you're in the zone, you don't see everything. So, yeah, they are going to work out all the kinks. Obviously, it was just a big surprise, I think, of such a big launch. I mean, it wasn't even like, oh, it's coming in October. It was like, no, it's available. Because I just got back that literally like an hour before I'd just driven in, got home. I'm like, I've just been driving. I've been driving for 5 hours. I can't go to sleep yet. And it's like the app's starting to show up in stores, and like people are logging in. By the following morning, it's spread out everywhere. But it was just this thing of like, oh yeah, it's out today, bang, boom. And then like Disney have actually since put out an official press release saying about it being a free trial and all the rest of it in the Netherlands and things like that. But yeah, it was a total surprise. And I think also a massive marketing ploy. This is a really good idea of like getting people involved and going, oh, that's on there. And the people that are interested are finding out and go, like, what's on this and what's on, and seeing video footage and stuff. If they wanted to launch what like legacy content was on there, I thought this was a great way of doing it.
Yeah, no, this is it's not just making sure that everything works, it's also getting the hype out there, and I think that's very important. And like you said, with it being this far in advance of the launch, they will get a chance to work out some bugs and get some features in there. And it's not always, oh, we didn't think of that. We did think of that, but we didn't think it was a high priority item. And then people come in and go, oh, no, we want this. And we have that kind of thing at my job, where we'll go to vendors and be like, we want this feature. And like, oh, but nobody wants that vendor. No, I'm telling you, we want this feature.
Well, one of the big ones is like the skip intro, or like moving on to the next episode or something like that, which Netflix have brought in and people are now expecting. But also, it's the same thing that happened with the Epic Game Store that launched earlier this year. There's been a lot of feedback about that, of like, oh, hasn't got the things that Steam have got. And it's that thing of, Disney Plus are probably along the lines of, we have got the core functionality working and it needs to be up and running and it needs to be out on this date. We can add this other stuff in later. But right now we've had to focus on, because the trouble is, if they keep focusing on all these other little things, this one just keeps getting delayed. In the world now where it's like, push it out and we'll update it later. That's basically the thing of, video games and stuff. But yeah, they get the core app out, the core functionality, and then they add the little options later.
Yeah, I just wouldn't use the Epic Game Store as an example, because now several months after launch, they're only finally getting to some of what should be core functions.
Yeah,
they're not even. Sorry, this isn't a gaming podcast, so we're not going to go into this. But the Epic Game Store is not even at a point now where I would consider it be a good launch position, even though it's been out for months. So if Disney Plus launches in the state that the Epic Game Store launched, I might quit the podcast in rage.
I think, it was just kind of like the nearest kind of analogy I could think of something launching with a lot less stuff.
I got what you were going with. I'm just like, that game store shouldn't be called a game store, right? It's a UI that it goes to a web page that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, there's
not
Anyway,
video games. Let's talk.
No, but I think Disney Plus, there's that kind of cool thing of like things like the skip intro thing of, it's like, well, we didn't have that on Netflix for years. It wasn't always there. It's a convenient, and it's, I think, more so. I don't necessarily think of it in terms of movies. It's more like TV series, where if you're watching like Friends, you don't want to keep hearing that same theme tune like 25 times over.
I'm not a fan of Friends, but I'm going to stop you right there. There are people who will definitely take issue with the idea that you do not listen to the Friends theme every single time.
Look, I had the entire seasons of like 1 through 5 on VHS, and then I started buying them on DVD. So the whole thing about like binge watching Friends, I was doing way back on the VHS days. So I'm definitely on that zone, and there is that kind of comforting thing of that music. But people do want to hit the skip intro button. I think the other things are like fast forward. I think people have been saying about they would prefer like a bigger scenes drop. So I think similar to what they're doing. So things like that are going to be things that they're going to add. But of course, it takes time to put all into the legacy content. But yeah, I think the Netherlands launch, I've seen a few technical issues of people saying like it's a bit fuzzy and the 4K stuff isn't quite fully lined up yet. But again, it's a trial and they ain't charging you for it. So you can't. It's like, yeah, you can't do it. I mean, the Facebook group just exploded this week, obviously, with people posting all the images and videos, and you're just there like this, and everyone's sitting there going, jealous. It's like, and then kind of they go over the Americans, go, now you're gonna know what all the British are feeling like, right? On November, it's like, yeah, this is how frustrating things is when things launch in other regions and you can't access it. Of like, yeah, this is what we feel all the time.
It does go the other way sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's more frequently
Yeah.
you guys getting the short end of the straw, but there are occasions when, for whatever reason, you get content before us. It'll actually be kind of interesting to see how this goes after it launches in the UK and Europe, the rest of Europe. It will be interesting to see if content continues to come out at a staggered pace or if it becomes a true global launch. Obviously, we have no idea how that's going to work once it launches, and we'll have to revisit it later. But yeah, let's say Mandalorian Season 2 comes out. I would hope by the time Mandalorian Season 2 comes out, it'll be out in the UK and so on.
Yeah.
But will Episode 1 of Season 2 come out the same day in America as in Europe and Australia and stuff? And just finish off the thought real quick. When does it launch? Will it launch in Australia at 8 a.m. and then it's globally? Or will it be 8 a.m. local time? And
I think that's how it works with Netflix. I think they just it's everything, everywhere gets it on the same. I think that's the best way to put it out at the same time, every region. Because not only have we obviously got Europe kind of going, well, when's it coming out? I've got people from the Philippines, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, even was it Myanmar had somebody like going, when's it says here on the website it's not coming to. It's like, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Every country is having the same things, and it's a 2-year rollout. They've already said that it's going to be taking about 2 years to do it, and I think they're going to try and get it out as fast as possible, everywhere as possible, because they want to get those numbers up. But they've got to make sure they got it built on a stable foundation and keep building on it. But yeah, Netherlands launch, that was definitely a thing. And we'll just run through some of the other bits and pieces of news from the past week or so. So according to a mailer that went out as part of the Disney Visa Club holders, one of the little notes that was in there was that said that there would be live specials streaming only on Disney Plus. We've talked about live streaming before. So yeah, we are going to be getting some live specials and things like this, which I think is definitely a step forward.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We don't know what the live specials will be, but we can take some guesses based on what ABC and Disney TV have done in the past. Stuff from the park, stuff, New Year's events, stuff like that. So I'm glad to see it. It's something we haven't really seen with streaming all that much. I think there've been a couple of simulcasts here and there. They'll do an opera and they'll broadcast it live from Berlin or something like that. But
the Disney Channel does it a lot. They do it a lot with the just roll with it and their Disney quiz thing where you get to respond to it live. So they've been doing it with the Disney Now app. So it makes sense for them to do it. Obviously, the BAMTech Disney streaming, they've been doing like ESPN Plus games. It just makes sense. I mean, some people will automatically go like live streaming from the theme parks. You've got live events. There's a lot of different things. It's just nice to see that being brought up. Some other things as well. We've got apparently there's a new live action version of the Fairy Godmother, a series or a movie called Godmother. Again, no official details on this, but it'll be directed by. They're in final talks with Sharon Maguire, who did like Bridget Jones' Diary, to do that one. So that one was kind of pretty cool as a rumor going around. Also, Haliee Steinfeld, Haliee Steinfeld. She's currently in negotiations to start as Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. That one's been going around. Obviously, that came through from like Variety or I think it's going around quite. Variety reporting on that. I think that one's a great casting. I think she'll be great in that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this. The art design that they used in the title card for Hawkeye suggests that they're drawing a lot of inspiration from the run that really put Hawkeye on the board. It's probably about a decade ago now, but it was a really, really good run. And if they're drawing inspiration from that, then I have decently high hopes for the series.
And so bad news really was apparently the Josh Gad and has pretty much come out and said that the Muppets Live Another Day series that they were working on has been cancelled. They couldn't agree on. I think there was a lot of creative differences between Disney and the team that were doing it, because he was doing that with the the makers of the Once Upon a Time show. Apparently, it was set in the 1980s, set after the Muppets Take Manhattan, where Kermit is trying to put the band back together to try and find Ralph. Apparently, they wrote songs for it, but they couldn't get together on creatively. Apparently, one of the issues is Disney have put a new person in charge of the Muppets, and his vision wasn't lining up with the series creators, because he's got visions of the whole of the Muppets, of more than just this one TV series. And that's why they're doing like the Muppets Now TV, because this is the thing of everyone goes, it's cancelled, and the people are going, like, they just no, this was a separate series to Disney, to the Disney Plus series Muppets Now, which they announced only a few weeks ago. Very sad to see this one go. I think this one was going to be a very popular series of kind of getting back to the core Muppets, but yeah, this was a bit of an odd one. I don't know what you thought of that one.
Yeah, I think it's sad to lose it to begin with. It would have been nice to have a throwback to the 80s, 90s Muppets when they were producing some very good movies, not just the Manhattan movie, but just in general. They had some really good Treasure Island, Pigs in Space. The Muppet Christmas Carol is still actually my favorite version of the Christmas Carol in film. But obviously we have no idea how it actually looked. We don't know what the scripts looked like. We don't know what the plots were other than the broad outline. It would be nice if we get to see or hear these songs at some point. Josh Gad did hint that he might try to get them released in a separate avenue, but I wouldn't keep my hopes up on that. Without being able to see it, I don't know if this was a good decision or not. We'll have to see what the actual slate of Muppets coming out look like, and then we can kind of decide, oh no, this was good or this was bad. Even then, we won't be able to decide if axing this show. I do enjoy the Muppets. I would have loved to have seen the show, but we still do have Muppets coming, so I'm not horribly put out by it.
Yeah, I think they're at a point where they're just trying to rejig what they're doing with the Muppets, and maybe that show was going in a direction that the rest of the Muppets wasn't, and it wasn't going to line up like synergy-wise. Going, you guys are doing something completely different over here, and it's going to confuse everything. I mean, because we're all looking and go, yeah, but probably the 80s version was exactly what we needed rather than like the modern version of it. But I don't know. That was obviously going to. There was a lot of people upset about that one. A couple of other shows. Four Dads was a show that we talked about early in the year about. That one apparently is not going ahead. And also Book of Disenchantment, which it was set to feature all the villains. Apparently the tone was too dark. They didn't like where it was going, and they decided to pull the plug on the pro. So there's kind of been like 3 big series that have been pulled, and obviously we had High Fidelity move over to Hulu because the tone wasn't quite right. So people are kind of going, well, can't keep cancelling all these shows that they've. Well, officially they never actually really announced these TV shows. They were all kind of going through the sheets like Variety and Deadline and stuff. But also, this happens a lot in television. You know, a lot of TV shows get cancelled before we even see them.
Yeah, it is easy to forget that, you know, television has the whole pilot process. And so they might even make an episode, and it might be out there. Like there was an episode for Wonder Woman or something like that a handful of years ago, back before her movie. Yeah. And it never went through. The 2 characters, Mockingbird and her husband, left Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to start up their own show, and then that got axed after the pilot. The difference here, of course, is that everybody is watching everything that says Disney Plus on it. Disney Plus has done this. Disney is looking at this show for Disney Plus. So we're getting actually a pretty decent behind-the-scenes look at how shows get done or don't, as the case may be. And this won't be the end of it. There will be more shows where we will be like, oh, yeah, we talked about this 3 months ago. Yeah, okay, it's not happening, which is unfortunate. Obviously, we want these shows to come out, and we, whether earned or not, have to have faith that Disney, looked at the product that was presented to them for, let's say, this the Disenchantment show, the villain show, and they looked at it and they go, no, it's not good, or it's not the message we want. And I will say, doing shows where the villains are the protagonists are really hard to do. So I can totally understand why that one wouldn't make it through.
I think the trouble is as well is like budgets and where it's going, and if the script isn't quite working right, and maybe as well I was just looking and go, mate, it's like this is just not up to scratch where it needs to be. The expectations for something like that. I mean, I think something like Four Dads. I mean, maybe they just looked at it and go, this is just not working, or it's not going to work. The script, maybe this wasn't as funny as they wanted it. There's a whole kind of different reasons. But TV shows get cancelled all the time. It's funny because you mentioned like pilots and stuff. We're going, well, pilots cost money to put together, and Disney can't do that with Disney Plus right now. They can't put out just random stuff just to kind of go, we'll see how that goes. It's like, no, they've kind of got to go all in. You're seeing it a lot with the series there's a lot of 6 episodes, short seasons, bang, bang. There was one about guide dog puppies recently, and then there was another one that got announced yesterday on Pointe, which is a documentary about the American Ballet School in New York. 6 episodes coming to Disney Plus, and things like that of these short little bursts are, like I've said before, kind of what traditional television in the UK has always been. But they've got to kind of make out, if these are going to be long-running TV series, they've got to be good enough on their own merit long-term. And maybe episode 1 might be all right, but what's episode 8 like? If it's not good enough, they can't just run the whole series. Yeah,
and if you're writing it for a pilot, episode 1 as a pilot, you might not be able to build in, the subplots, the foreshadowing that would get you to an episode 8, so it doesn't become apparent. So that the change from first episode to second episode and then onwards is pretty tough. I think they are going to continue with a pilot kind of development process for a lot of stuff, but we're not going to see them, until they reach actual production, because one of the best ways for companies to determine whether a show is worth funding or not, even today, even with streaming, is to produce an episode, put it in front of an audience, those survey takers in the mall who be like, hey, you want to come into this booth and watch a video? That is a thing in the States. And I don't know how they do it in Europe, but that is an actual thing, as weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
And they'll gauge the reaction, and they'll get a couple hundred people or 1,000 people to give them their opinion. And then if the overall opinion is positive, then maybe it turns into a show. And if it's negative, then put it on the shelf, try something else.
Yeah, it is just one of those things of like there is a test and going. So yes, shows are getting cancelled. They are greenlighting lots of other shows. There was another show that got virals, which I always thought this was funny. Was World of Disney? Disney's World of English is coming to Disney Plus, and this was like one of those things of like, Disney's World of English it's been around for decades. They have books, DVDs. There's a whole little franchise thing going on that they use primarily in Asia to get Disney characters to teach English. And they've apparently greenlit a new series for Disney Plus. And there's a whole load of people going, whoa, like, whoa. It's like there is a whole other part of Disney that you don't sometimes see when you're in, they use this as a massive learning opportunity in other countries. And it makes sense. You greenlight this series because it's going to be popular, in Latin America and in Europe and also in Asia. This is a big series that could be very useful. And obviously, it's going to draw an audience. It might not impact very well on the American market, but it could bring in users elsewhere. And you are going to see TV series. There's one that came onto Disney Life recently, and I saw it advertised while I was in Mexico. It's called a series called 11, which is a Latin football team. And I think there's another one like Violeta or something like that. Like, they are making content in different countries for different audiences, and they are going to probably spread them out to other countries as well. But, Disney aren't just all about America. I know that a lot of people don't like that idea, but they do actually have people outside that they do target with, and not everything they make is primarily for one particular person. They're for other people in other areas, and Disney Plus is a global franchise. So the idea of Disney's World of English maybe doesn't appeal to me, but it's not for me, and that's the key thing. But I just see a lot of this and go, well, there's a whole other audience going on that this will be very popular for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Disney has, for a very long time, marketed different things to different people, different audiences, for different demographics. It's how you stay alive in business.
Mm.
You know, you don't, unless you produce one exceptionally good product to one little niche, you really need to branch out. And Disney does that. As another example that American viewers who watch traditional TV will probably be able to see, Geico. It's a car insurance company, and their ads are getting worse over time.
Is that
But
the
that's
one
not
with
the,
the lizard?
yeah, well, that's the thing. The lizard is one of their mascots. So they've got the lizard. And they've had other catchphrases and slogans. They had the caveman at one point. They had the camel. They had all sorts of things. But here's the thing: when you think about Geico, you think about the one that you specifically remember. So for you, it's the gecko. But other people might think about the caveman or the camel, and they kind of focus on that rather than focusing on the fact that these were all going at the same time. They had different franchise mascots to target different audiences, and you just kind of honed in on the one that was for you and blocked off all the other ones. It's been kind of steadily downhill, but that's still the point that stands. They're running different ad campaigns at the same time for different people, and Disney does the same thing with their movies, the television shows, even the parks.
Well, I was actually just gonna mention that about the parks because, for example, when they created Disneyland, they then took that to Orlando. They then took it to Tokyo, and they took it to Paris, and they took it to Hong Kong. But when they went to Shanghai, they realized that this all-American 1950s ideal of Disneyland at the street wasn't going to work in mainland China because the audience didn't have the same connection to the 1950s all-American town that the rest of the world, they assumed everybody else was interested in. And so they completely changed it. I can't wait to actually see what it looks like when I go later this year. But that was the thing of they changed it all up. They had to change the shows and the movies that were coming on because the audiences weren't interested maybe in Peter Pan and Pinocchio because they've grown up on Woody, Buzz Lightyear. You know, Disney hasn't been established in those countries for the same amount of time. And you know, that was a big difference of and I think Hong Kong suffered from the idea of them just putting, I think even Paris, of recreating the American versions in these other countries hasn't worked the same because it doesn't have the same audience. You know, downtown American 50s idea doesn't work on a kid of today because they don't know what that is. And so they've had to change it. And that is definitely a thing going forward. And Disney Plus has to realize this. And this is why they're making TV shows in different countries and different things of to try and make sure that they fill all those different niches and different people have different wants. What works, what's a huge hit sometimes in America isn't a big hit internationally. I mean, there's this new movie that they literally announced officially yesterday called Safety, which is about an American football star who has to look, or American football kid at college who has to look after his brother. And it's a kind of a movie that Disney have been trying to make. They make sports movies all the time. They just bomb internationally. They don't work internationally because the minute someone over in the rest of the world sees an American football, we all just go, well, it doesn't mean anything to us. Yes, some people will go see it, but there's no chance of this thing pulling in a massive audience in Japan or in China. So pushing it onto Disney Plus means that they kind of get the best of both worlds. It can be watched in China, but it won't have the same impact. You know, they can't. If Safety went out, which is an awful name, went out at cinemas, it just wouldn't bring in the money. And, you know, we found this like with, I think it's McCarthy Land USA and $1 Million Arm and all these kind of things. They just didn't hit the mark outside of the US. And again, different audiences. A movie about American. There's a show called Pitched that Fox made, and there was talk of it maybe coming to Disney Plus and stuff. It's a baseball series. I never even heard of it. It didn't even get launched here in the UK. And that is, again, different audiences.
Yeah, and that show actually might do really well in Japan because Japan loves baseball and America loves baseball, so it might do well in those markets, but it wouldn't do well in Europe. And by the same token, you've got international sports, stuff like cricket or soccer slash European football, where okay, sure they'll do okay in America. I know Bend It Like Beckham did really, really well in America, but other than that, they don't tend to do well. But in India, you release a movie about cricket, it's probably going to do pretty well unless it's an absolutely terrible movie because cricket is huge
Yeah,
in India. And so we being the general internet, the general people need to kind of forget our local
yeah,
stuff when looking at some of these announcements, which is the point you were making, of
yeah,
course. But and it happens in the weirdest things too, because you know the story that I always end up hearing. This isn't about movies. This is in Japan. Uh, Donuts were introduced in Japan, and Japan was like, "What the heck is a donut? This is ridiculous." And it's super sweet, and Japan doesn't have the same sweetness that, well,
yeah,
nobody has the sweetness that America has, where we are sugar addicts. But people weren't buying them in Japan, and they actually had to hire people to go into these donut shops and eat them, so people would be like, "Oh, you eat them,"
yeah,
and it just shows, because if you told that to an American, it's like they didn't
yeah.
understand what donuts were. They'd be like, "Who doesn't understand what donuts?" Everyone understands what donuts, but they didn't.
Yeah,
So
it's a prime example. I had a glass of Fanta last week in Mexico. There is no way I'm drinking that. It's like I forgot how. It's like it's luminous orange. Fanta no longer has that because they've taken all the sugar out of it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not having that. Yeah, it's like Skittles and stuff. I mean, if you saw the different, things change different things. A prime example was here in the UK years ago. They took what was Cocoa Krispies that you have over there. We call them Cocoa Pops. And they tried rebranding them to Cocoa Pops, from Cocoa Pops to Cocoa Krispies. Massive failure. They had to change them back. Starburst was called Opal Fruits in this country. They changed the name to the US, Snickers. We used to call them Marathon bars going back in when I was a lad. And they had to change them. Sometimes they make them because it's easier for them to make one brand with one logo and release globally, which is what we kind of have nowadays. But sometimes these things don't work the same. And yeah, Disney Plus has got this issue that certain things, and also like names. I think like Moana, we saw on like the Netherlands, things like Valerie or something. It's kind of how the whole show is called. She's a completely different name in another country because Moana didn't mean the same. And I mean, is that kind of standard joke about kind of, when they come up with a name for something, they have to test it because, like a car in Germany was called basically poop. It was just like, I have to change the names because it's not going to work the same. And unfortunately, Disney Plus is going to have to deal with this, and they're going to have to make different audiences for different content. And again, if you don't like it, don't watch it. And I can't. I think there's been. I mean, it was pretty bad. There was an article that someone put up on our Facebook group about a drag queen show, and the drag queen, he was talking about how he would love to do like a series on Disney Plus and stuff, and the reactions to it was so extreme from one side to the other, and it was just like that kind of thing of well, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. It's like not everything is made for everybody. It's like, and other people were saying, "Oh, there's too much Disney Channel stuff. I don't want to watch this. I want some kids stuff." And other people were, "That's all I want to watch from Disney is kids stuff." It's like, yeah, but there's a mix here. We are allowed to have Disney Plus. It's not just. I don't want it. If it's just Disney Junior on demand, I wouldn't subscribe. It's not for me. And at the same time, if it was all just National Geographic, the people that want all the kids shows would be like going, I don't want to watch all that. I want, Vampira and all this kind of things. It's like they are trying to make different shows. I mean, this one about the ballet school. I'm like, it's not. I'm not really interested. I don't really care about it. If it never existed, I don't care. But someone will, And it's like just because I don't like it doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't exist. Yeah, if it goes to the point if they put out a TV show and nobody's watching it, then yeah, maybe it wasn't right. But there are going to be some series that you don't want to watch, or movies you don't want to watch. Don't watch them, or try it. And I think we need to get to this idea with Disney Plus that it's going to have variety. I don't think it's got as much variety as maybe Netflix, but I think some people have got like a bit of blinkers on of what they're expecting. Some people are expecting essentially the most basic Disney package of the Disney. If it isn't Mickey Mouse and the animated series, there's nothing else. And some people are looking at it, they want the whole spectrum of the Walt Disney Company, and there's somewhere in between that we're going to get.
Yeah, and it's the old "you're never going to please all the people all the time" kind of deal. Personally, the way I view it, and this is just my view, I'm not advocating other people should view it that way, is that we live in a time where there is so much good media out there. And by good, I mean whatever your personal definition of good is. You want to watch Breaking Bad and Breaking Bad style shows, there's tons of it out there. You want to watch Friends on repeat? Yeah, you can do that. You want to watch 50s stuff? All right. You want to watch Star Wars? Great. It's not worth getting angry over stuff that's produced that's not for you.
Yeah.
Because, like, all right, I don't care about the ballet show either. I think that's not a huge surprise for most people.
Yeah.
We are middle-aged white men. We're not having that big a connection to ballet. So what? Yeah. I don't have to watch it. I will watch The Mandalorian instead. If I get to a point where there is literally nothing on Disney Plus that I want to watch, I will check my Netflix account. I will check Hulu. I will check DC Universe. I will check whatever is on television. It's not like if Disney Plus doesn't, or if Disney Plus releases this On Point show, it's not like my options for watching stuff has suddenly disappeared. It's not like On Point comes on and season 7 of Clone Wars disappears. It's not a 1-for-1 trade right here. It's not worth getting angry over.
I don't know if it's sometimes just that kind of thing, well, why are you wasting money on that when you could be spending money on something that I want to watch? Well, it's for different audiences. I know friends who their kids do, dance school stuff. That shows exactly what they want. That'll be right up their alley. And it's like, it's fine. It's not, I don't know. It's, it's like, my wife watches different shows than I watch. And it's just, that's the whole point of it. It's to offer some variety. And I do think people have just got to try and remember that not everything is for you. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine. It's just, there is that kind of thing of like, there's movies coming out. People at work were going on about like, they're going to go see It 2 last night. I'm going to go, carry on. I've got zero interest. I don't like horror movies. I don't like them. It's not my thing. I don't like horror stuff. And I just accept. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. They keep bringing all these horror movies out. I never watch them. It's just, it's like, fine. And that's just a key thing of, I do think Disney they've got that balancing act. They've got to try and make as many shows to appeal to as a wide audience as possible. But sometimes they need to make little niche stuff. Well, we look at Star Wars, The Mandalorian, as the pinnacle of maybe what is coming to Disney Plus and all these Marvel TV shows. I spoke to people that they were like, oh, more Marvel? I don't want to watch that rubbish. And yeah, it's different things for different folks. And Disney Plus have got to try and balance it all. It does seem at the minute a little bit like all over the place. I think there needs to be a little bit more like general stuff of like, we've almost got like this Marvel and Star Wars stuff, and then suddenly we're getting all these like weird little documentaries and like weird, it's like, it'd be kind of quite nice to have some dramas and stuff that are maybe just normal. Because it seems like Hulu's having all of that, whereas just, I was looking at it the other day going, yeah, we're not really getting anything like slap bang in the middle at the minute. We are getting like movies and stuff, but like normal series, we don't seem to be getting anything casually in the middle.
Yeah, and we probably will, but casually in the middle doesn't make headlines all that much. About them. But yeah, it's watch what you want to watch.
Yeah. And
if you don't want to watch it, then don't watch it. I was in a very similar situation. Actually, this is why I watched Aladdin this past week. Was I looked at my local theater. I was like, is there anything here I want to watch? Oh, It Too. No, I'm not really interested in that. Not interested in that. The Gerard Butler action movie, and like, yeah, I'll wait for it on DVD. what else is out? Oh, Amazon's got a sale on the rental for Aladdin. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, and it's like my night was not ruined because It Chapter 2, which I had zero interest in, was out in theaters. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
No, I mean, I'm hoping really. I think eventually that if we start getting that, maybe some more of the Fox content stuff coming in, it might be a little bit more in that line. Because again, like we say, different things. You know, I'm looking for something a little bit maybe more, not necessarily adult focused, but a little bit more like less. I don't want, just because it's live action, I don't want it to be a remake or a fairy tale story. I want something a little bit more grounded. But they've just got to find that fine line of what they're after here. And I think, you know, Disney's going to take some time for them to do it. I mean, it's like that launch lineup. You know, you think Encore? No, I'm not really overly fussed with that one. Lady and the Tramp, cool, yeah, I'll watch it. Noelle is one personally that, like, for me, is like maybe the most like central kind of like lots of live action movie without being part of a major franchise, and obviously got the Mandalorian and stuff. But yeah, and there again, different things of what's going to be pulling people in, and ultimately it's going to be your choice of what you want to watch. But nevertheless, I think that pretty much is going to wrap up most of the news from this past week. There was a few bits and pieces that we went over from the week before. But let us know in the comments below on which ones you are most looking forward to, and also just your thoughts on the trial going on in the Netherlands right now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's especially if you're in the Netherlands.
Yes, especially in the Netherlands. As much feedback as possible. We're having some great feedback in our Facebook group. Just about coming up to like 23,000 members. It's growing kind of quite nicely at the minute. So definitely
spend your time listening to us. I don't.
Yeah, I know. It'd be great if you could. Also, on that same note, just something I will probably be putting up a video about over the weekend is there might be some issues going forward with YouTube next year in terms of community tabs and comments and stuff, depending on how things get flagged, because they might view this as being about kids because we talk about kids' TV shows or something. So make sure you do join us on either the Facebook group, Facebook page, or Twitter to kind of make sure that from next year when things start maybe changing around with the comments that you can interact with us. So just be aware of that. But there will be a bit of an update video coming over the weekend, kind of going in a little bit more depth of how that might affect the YouTube channel. And also maybe as well with the podcast and stuff, just how you can help out with that kind of things. But I'll go into that a bit more next week. On that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you guys in another video. Laters.